Virginia the game is made by Variable State and is published by 505 Games. Do you know how I know that? It's because it is shown 5 times before you begin to play the game. 5 times. One thing is certain, they're very proud of themselves because they have to tell you that it's by Variable State Games and published by 505 Games. I'm critical of that because I'm critical of this game. There's a lot wrong with this game. A lot. And I love walking simulators. I think walking simulators could be my favorite genre of game because they're usually open to interpretation and they usually kind of intentionally lead you astray as you work your way through the story, only to give you some 11th hour plot twist or 11th hour turn that changes a lot of your perception of the game. What Remains of Edith Finch, Gone Home, and Everyone's Gone to the Rapture are examples of this, in which you think you know what's going on until the very end, in which you don't, and it reshapes your thoughts of the game. And I like that. I don't mind the fact that you have to walk around and that there's limited interaction. I don't think the term walking simulator is a derogatory one. I don't think that they're a bad genre of game. I think they're an amazing genre of game, and I think that their experiences are some of the best I've ever had. Virginia falls into that category of what we call a walking simulator, and it takes place with a special agent named Ann Tarver. And you play as her. You are assigned 2 things. Number 1, to find this missing person, and number 2, you're secretly working on a internal investigation case against your partner. That's about as much as I can tell you, not for fear of spoiling the game, but because it makes no sense after this. The problem is, as I said, there's a lot of problems. There's no talking in the game. There's no subtitles. There's no any communication outside of visual and an orchestra that's playing throughout the background. The problem is the art style that is chosen in this game is very abstract. It's a very weird kind of cel-shaded, built off of Unity, weird 3D looking art. The problem with that is a lot of the characters look similar to each other, and the game does not do a good job of conveying emotion. So it's very difficult to tell what a character is thinking because their faces are constantly pixelating because that's the art style that they chose. If you want to make a game that is silent, that's okay. But you have to be able to convey, whether through emotion or whether through visual representation or some sort of sound effects, what's actually happening. And this can absolutely be done. Look at games like Tacoma, another walking simulator, or Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, where you really don't even see character models at all. But through their vocalizations, through their kind of how they express themselves verbally to each other, you can understand what's going on. But if you want to take that away, you have to have a visual element for us to trigger into. The music that plays in the background by an orchestra is wildly swinging from happy to sad to glad, oftentimes multiple times in a similar scene. So you can't even necessarily use visual clues in that sense to understand, auditory clues to understand what the character's emotions or feelings are. So from a standpoint of storytelling, I think Virginia fails just off that alone. But if you want to get past that and say, well, I think I know what they were trying to say, the problem is this game is constantly doing jump cuts. It's not clear if the flow of time is even in a linear direction. It's not really clear if you are playing through hallucinations or what ifs. And it's not clear if you're always playing as the same character. And there's very little clues to help you distinguish between that other than looking down and you can see your character's badge on her chest. It says FBI. Short of that, though, it's very, very difficult to tell where and who you are and what timeline, and even if the timeline you are playing is actually a real timeline. I think there's a lot of daydreaming going on in this game. There's maybe a lot of hallucinations. There's definitely an indication that your character puts one of those things in her mouth that's like the acid, the drug, because crazy things start happening towards the end of the game. But there's no central theme, there's no central imagery that makes any logical sense. And when you go online, if you look up this game and you read Wikipedia or Reddit or some of the other sites where people are making their best guess as to what is going on in the game, nobody knows. And oddly enough, the game director, Jonathan Burrows, actually thinks this is great. And he says, I love the fact that this game is so divisive. I'm glad people are talking about it. Well, if you look at the Metacritic score, Jonathan, you'll see that while the critics give this game high 70s, the users are giving this game about a 45 to 50%, depending on what platform you are on. And I am definitely in the latter there in terms of thinking this game is not that great. So you have a major disconnect between the press and the players. I don't know how that ultimately did for the game sales. I don't know if this was considered a commercial success or not. But what I can tell you is when you have that big of a split, that tells you something. Now, I am looking at this game objectively. I am trying to enjoy it as a fan of a walking simulator, as somebody who has a lot of free time to play a lot of these games. I should be your target audience. I should be the one who plays this game and reflects on it and says, you know what, it was an amazing experience. Because I'll tell you that all those other walking simulators that I just mentioned a minute ago, those are games that I still think very fondly of and enjoyed those endings. And I like talking to others about my experiences with those games and lessons and feelings and emotions that I got from those games. This kind of game, all it brings out of me is anger and kind of feeling like I wasted my time. Thankfully, it's only a couple hours long. You'll be able to beat it in about 2 hours. That's how long it took me on the PC. If there were any kind of bonuses or collectibles, I wasn't aware of them. No achievements pop up when you play on Origin Premiere, so I have no idea if I did a good ending or a bad ending or whatever. And honestly, I don't care. I have zero desire to go back into this game. I have zero desire to read more about it and try to understand the mystery. But it was very clear to me about halfway through this game that the joke or the meta within the game of itself is that the creators want you to be confused, and I just don't have time for that. So for the diehards out there who think this was a good game and enjoyed it, I'm happy you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad that walking simulators exist. I'm happy that we have a great industry where more of these games can be put out on the market, where more people could experience this, and I'm glad that even though a lot of these more established walking simulator companies are having a hard time making new games, and the genre itself always seems to be under attack, I am thankful that variable state games produced by 505 Games, in case you forgot already, put their money towards this to create this sort of project. I just don't think that it was done very well. And I'm all about games breaking the mold. I'll close on this. I'm okay with a game having mute characters, and I'm okay with a game having, not a standard progression in terms of the 11th hour turn in most walking simulators. I'm perfectly fine with that, but there has to be something that everybody can commonly sink their teeth into, something everybody commonly could enjoy. The problem with this game is there's just too many mysteries, too many unknowns, and there's not enough ground truths for the fans to begin to build a narrative, story on. We can't all even agree as to what we saw. And that's why you're seeing such a low score from the users. I don't know what the press was on when they played this game. I did not enjoy it. So if you guys liked it and it made sense to you, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think about it. Give me your wild fan theories. Tell me what I totally missed about this game. And if you are like me and you didn't like it, leave a comment below and tell me what your thoughts were, and tell me some of the other walking simulators that you enjoy, because it is a great genre. It's just this game is not a very good representation of it. With that, I will close out this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.